So, my name's Aaron, and I'm a runner. And that might be one of the craziest things I've ever said in my life for various reasons. Chief among them is, as you can see, I don't really look like a runner. I'm visibly overweight. But what doesn't show, just in the camera, just in looking at me, is that I have been a lifelong chronic asthmatic. From birth, I've had asthma. As a child, I was a pretty active kid. I played basketball, baseball, ran around quite a bit, walked everywhere. Growing up, I grew up in a family that was in poverty and we didn't have a car. So anywhere I wanted to go, I pretty much had to walk around my hometown. And so as a result, as a small child, I was pretty fit overall. I remember pictures of myself being very skinny. One summer, I had to go to asthma camp. That's how bad I had asthma. I had to go to asthma camp to learn how to properly breathe because my doctor determined I wasn't doing it right. But back then, I was a pretty fit kid. Looked skinny, could keep up with my peers for the most part, but the asthma did come into play after a while if I tried to run for too long. I distinctly remember in middle school, and you probably do too, the presidential fitness test where one of the components was to run the mile. And that was a day I dreaded. You know, it was on the calendar. We knew when it was coming up, and I did not look forward to that day. But it was part of gym class. It was one of the things that you were going to have to do. And so I would do my mile, but I never ran that mile. And as the older I got, I was able to get a job and start paying for my own things and got a car eventually and didn't have to walk everywhere anymore. I was able to start buying the foods and things that I wanted and just enjoying life. And as a result, I put on weight and I fell into the trap of not moving anymore, not purposefully for certain, and steadily gained weight. Back about 15 years ago, I was at the heaviest weight I ever was in my life at 403 pounds, and decided it was time for a change at that point, and ended up beginning the journey for a gastric bypass procedure. And in preparation for that, I lost 20 pounds prior to the surgery following the diet program and the exercise program that the bariatric surgeon had put me on. And so on surgery day, I was 383, 20 pounds under my highest weight. And had the surgery, and it was a success by all markers. You know, I quickly lost weight. Um, I got down to 250 pounds, which at that time was the lowest I had been in my adult life, and I was happy there. But because of some negligence on my part, because of some just bad decisions, I ended up developing a condition called peripheral neuropathy. And the reason I developed that was because I wasn't taking my vitamins properly, especially my B12. My B12 and my B1 vitamins both got very low. And I ended up, I was at my daughter's child care Thanksgiving program. And my legs felt a little weak, but I pushed through and celebrated the day with her and enjoyed time. And then afterwards, we were able to sign her out early, and we went to lunch. And I remember sitting in the booth at lunch and enjoying time with my wife and my daughter and just talking about Thanksgiving, talking about turkeys and all the things that you do with a young child at the time. And it was one of those little elevated booths at restaurants, maybe a 3-inch step up kind of a deal. And when I got down from the booth, I just dropped down into this deep squat. And I could not get myself up initially. I kind of had to pull myself up using the side of the table and the side of the bench to be able to stand. And I walked out of the restaurant, and on my way out of the restaurant, I told my wife, I was like, something's wrong with my legs. You know, I don't feel right. I feel like they're going to give out on me. So I told her to go get our car and pull it around to pick me up so I could just kind of get into the car without having to step up or step down or anything like that. And she did that, and I was able, thankfully, to get in the car. But when we got home, as I stepped out of the car, I dropped down again. I was able to pull myself back up and slowly get into the house, and that just started a string of those kind of things. And being a guy, being stubborn, I didn't want to go to the doctor. I didn't want to call the doctor. I didn't want to try to find out what the problem was. So I just kept dealing with it. Around that same time, my wife had a death in her family, and she had to travel to Florida to be with her family, to visit and to take part in the services and those sorts of things, and I couldn't go with her. I was left home by myself, dealing with these falls, dealing with these leg issues, and uh, we had to have a friend come and kind of check on me and make sure I was okay every day, make sure I was able to get the things that I needed, because it was difficult to even get around our house. We live in a split level house, and the stairs were just a no-go. Anytime I used the stairs, I ended up on the floor. And going in and out of the house, I had to use steps. And every time I did that, I would end up on the floor and have to pull myself back up. And so she's out of town, I'm by myself, and I'm dealing with this, and I'm falling, and this friend's coming and checking on us. And, I said to that friend, I said, I think I need to go get checked, figure out what's going on. I called my wife and told her, and the friend took me over to the hospital, and I signed in, and they started running tests and couldn't figure anything out. And I went through some various things, electric stimulation of my thigh muscles. I had 2 spinal taps, just various different things, and they could not figure out what was going on. They started to try to guess at what it might be, and one of the early guesses was Guillain-Barré syndrome. And I have a medical background, and so hearing that and starting to do a little bit of research on it myself, that was very scary, that's what it might be. And all this time, I'm just at the regular ER in my town, which was not the town that I had my surgery in. I had my surgery in Baltimore, and we were living in Howard County at the time, so only 20 minutes away, but a different hospital, different system. And never once did those doctors, or even me myself, I could have taken that on myself, but we never called my surgeon. We were just kind of trying to figure it out with the staff at that hospital. They sent me home because they couldn't figure out what was going on, and just said, if it gets worse and you cannot absolutely move around, call an ambulance and get back here as quick as you can. My wife got home from the funeral trip, and she decided that she was going to take me to see my surgeon. She called him and kind of explained what was going on, and they made an appointment immediately the next morning. Came in, and they had gotten hold of my labs from the hospital, and as soon as I got in the office, he sat me down. He said, had you called me sooner, I could have told you exactly what this was. He looked at my test, and I had disclosed to the other hospital, I'm a bariatric surgery patient, I've had this procedure, vitamins can get out of whack, minerals, all those sorts of things, because nutrition, I'm not able to absorb everything and all that sort of stuff, and I told them that, but he said, immediately, looking at your labs, I know exactly what's going on. You have peripheral neuropathy because your vitamin B12 and B1 are both extremely, extremely low. So they started me immediately on a course of aggressive B12 IV, and also just flushing me with fluids. I was severely dehydrated at the same time. And after a couple nights in the hospital, I was back up and running. I was able to move better. Still couldn't walk long distances. I ended up spending some time in a wheelchair as I got back to full strength. But we knew what it was. We knew how to treat it. And, that was good news. But during that time in a wheelchair, I started to re-examine things. I started to question the decisions that I had made. I started to have some doubts and some regrets, and kind of that feeling of you've wasted your time, you've wasted your life, you've now made yourself worse off. Yeah, you're skinnier, but to what end? You may never walk again. Even though they were assuring me I would walk again, I was thinking that, I may never actually walk again long distance. I might walk across a room, or, for 5 minutes here and there, but I'm never going to be able to be the dad I wanted to be and play with my kids and take long walks and go to the parks and those sorts of things, and be able to keep up with them. That was kind of the point of having the surgery in the first place. And that led me to getting very depressed. Those couple of months just sitting in that wheelchair when I wasn't up walking somewhere, I got very depressed, and that led me back to some bad habits. You don't get to 403 pounds by accident. It's poor eating habits, and for me, I was an emotional eater, and those could be any emotions: happy, sad, angry, bored. Was the biggest one, and so here I am dealing with emotions and struggling with that, and I turned back to my old friend food, and I started putting weight back on and back on and back on, and slowly but surely I was up again over 300 pounds. I think I got back up to about 350 at the high point, and that was a few years ago, and I slowly have started whittling away at that since. I had some success last year on a intermittent fasting uh, 16-8 plan, and lost a good chunk of weight then. Kind of fell off it, put 10 or so pounds back on, and then got to the end of last year, slowly trickling them off, a pound here, 2 pounds there, not really on purpose, it was just happening. And got to the end of the year and decided, like you always do, next year, January 1st is going to be my year. It's going to be my time to get this right. Well, it turns out I woke up that day with a newfound sense of determination, and I was able to kind of set some things in motion, get some things going. I heard about the OMAD diet, 1 meal a day, and decided to give that a try. I thought it was something that I might be able to do. Very restrictive, certainly, coming from the way that I used to eat. But it was basically this kind of a concept, that, at least is how it was sold to me at the beginning, was, you have this one meal, and because it's one time, you can probably eat what you'd like, because you're only going to have that one serving of it. And I found that to be true, and I started just dropping the pounds. Back in late March, early April of this year, 2026, I decided to get up and start walking. And I would get up in the mornings and take a walk, or go on a walk after work in the evening, and just put in a mile or so. Not really brisk pace, not really trying to do much other than to move more. That's the thing, right? Eat less, move more. And so I was trying to do the second half of that. I was already on the eat less. I wanted to do the move more. And last month, I got really inspired. So the end of April, beginning of May, I got really inspired to kick that up a notch. I started getting videos recommended to me here on YouTube about walking and the importance of walking, which I've known, but seeing kind of the truth about the 10,000 steps a day goal versus what you really actually need, and how to walk properly, how to make a difference for yourself and to do something. And I decided to try it. And so I've been getting up every morning for the past month now, steadily at 6 a.m. and walking. I started off about 1.5 miles, and I've worked my way up to 2.25 or 2 3/4 miles every single morning without fail. I missed one day in that entire time. So I'm up rain or shine. If I can't do it in the morning for some reason, I've got an early morning appointment or somewhere I have to be, I'll hit that walk in the evening. But I don't miss that 2 3/4 mile. Last Saturday, I was out on my morning walk, and something clicked in my head. I said, I wonder if I could run any part of this. At first I was like 20 seconds, and that didn't seem like a challenge. So I was like, I'm gonna go for a minute. I popped over to the timer app on my watch and hit the 1 minute and just started running. And it buzzed, and I was confused by why my watch was buzzing. I looked down and realized, oh, that minute timer was up, because I didn't feel like I had done much. It didn't feel like a minute. The concept of a minute is one that I think we have a hard time wrapping our minds around. It seems like either really short or really long, depending on what we're doing. But here I ran that minute, and it really didn't tax me at all. So I slowed back down to my walking pace, and I walked a little bit further, and I thought, I'm going to try it again. And over the course of that one walk, I had done 5 minutes in those 1 minute segments of running. Now, I had never ran for 1 minute on purpose in my adult life. And I try to think back to a kid, and other than those presidential fitness tests, I don't think I ran for a minute solid on purpose back then. Again, the asthma has always had me concerned, has always had me scared, even if I thought that I could do it. It's had me scared to push myself because I don't want to get into a place where I can't breathe. And trying to get a desperate breath in with an inhaler or that sort of thing and can't do it, and just starting a downhill spiral. Those are always the thoughts that have been in the back of my mind as a chronic asthmatic. But I had done it, and I went home and told my wife, I feel accomplished. I've always had this motto, and I laugh about it, and I tell other people, and they laugh about it, and my kids know it, and they parrot it back to me. But I've always said, if you see me running, you better follow me. Don't ask questions, just follow me, because wherever I'm coming from, something bad is going on, and you need to get away from it with me. And here I was, I had run for 5 minutes on that walk. And that really inspired me. I thought, is this something I could do? I talked to my wife about it, and she said, well, why don't you give it a shot? She's been on a fitness journey of her own. She started Couch to 5K a few different times. We have some friends who are doing Couch to 5Ks all the time, or doing 5K races all the time, and have invited us. And my wife has gone on several of them and walked them, but never run them. And I want to be able to do. I've done 5Ks. I've walked them at a slow pace, but I wanted to challenge myself to maybe someday be able to run a 5K. And I know that's not going to happen, straight out of the gate. I've got to work up to that. But I went and got an app on my watch, the Watch to 5K app, and just decided I'm going to do it. We went to Big Peach Running. We live in the Atlanta area now. We went to Big Peach Running and got fitted. Went through their little fit process and found out, interestingly enough, that maybe with my weight loss, I don't know, my feet have shrunk. I've always worn 13 wide shoes, and when they tested me, they're like, you're an 11 and a half wide, or an 11 wide. And I ended up buying some 11 and a half wide New Balance shoes. I had been walking, and my 1 minute runs I had done in some Nike Vomeros, and I liked the cushioning of those and that sort of thing. And so I talked to the girls at the store, and they told me about these New Balance, I think they're 1080s, and got me a pair of those, and I've been going since. And so I'm starting this journey, this Couch to 5K. It's a 9-week journey, and I believe that I can do this. I know it's not going to be easy. I know it's going to test me and push me in ways I've never been, but I've been saying to myself, even on those morning walks, with it being May, June, it's already hot. Not terribly hot, but hot enough. I hate heat. I don't like to sweat. And I've been saying to myself that in order to do this, in order to be successful, I'm going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so I'm planning to push myself through this. And so I'm going to go on this journey. I'm going to bring you guys along for it. I'll record videos of each run and each week. I'll put out probably some shorts and some longer forms, and just go on this journey together. And if nobody ever sees it, that's fine. I'll have it to look back on for myself, to see where I started and where I ended up. I'm already proud of myself, and I'm already declaring and saying I am a runner, because I believe if you can do it one time, that makes you a runner. Make that your identity. I'm still a big guy. I weighed in this morning at 231 pounds. That's 35 pounds down from where I started this year. I started this year at 266 on January 1st. And so with the things I've been doing, I've already lost that much weight. This isn't really for weight loss. I know it'll help with that. This is to push myself, to challenge myself, and to prove to myself that I can do this, that I can do hard things. And so I look forward to this journey. I hope you'll watch it. I hope you'll be part of it. I hope you'll give me encouragement. It's going to be messy and ugly and slow. My form is going to be trash for various reasons, just because it's not something I'm used to doing, but also, that peripheral neuropathy can crop up at any time and kind of throw things wonky on me. But I just ask that you would be an encouragement. Give me tips, give me pointers. If you want to critique me, I understand that people do that. This is YouTube. I can kind of scroll past those things, but I'm looking for that support system. I'm an introvert, an extreme introvert, so I have very few friends, and because of the work that I do, I'm a pastor, and I have a lot of friends that I went to seminary with, and we're kind of spread out all over the place. So as far as locally, I have my wife, and so it'd be nice to just have some people speaking encouragement and speaking truth and telling me that I can do this. So let's go on this thing together, this Couch to 5K journey, 9 weeks, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Let's see where we end up. I'm Aaron, and I am a runner.